So you want to know how to make vampire crawlers so easy that it's boring? Well, the greatest Cajun gamer gonna tell you, this is the strategy that I used in the second half of vampire crawlers, because let me tell you, there's a point where the rules of the game completely change. And things that mattered in the beginning, they don't matter no more. This happens when permanent wild cards get mixed in your deck, and these cards are so powerful that they completely break your understanding of the game. I'm gonna try to keep this as clear and clean as moonshine, but I'm warning you, this strategy is so effective, it kind of made the game boring towards the end. Let's start with the crawlers. The first crawler that I loved the most was Pugnala Provola. This character has a great starting deck, and her trigger will draw a card every time you play a yellow card. This is going to help out a lot with keeping all your cards in your hand. The second crawler that I like to go for is Giovanna Grana. Giovanna got the same trigger where you draw a card, but it's for purple cards. These two crawlers make it real easy to keep your deck in your hand. I want this strategy to be viable mid-game, so I'm going to assume you only got 2 crawler slots at this point. But later we're going to talk about some additional crawlers that you can consider for a 3rd slot. For the Arcana card, I ended up using Sharp Mind just because that's probably the best one I had available at the time. So for this strategy, I'm going to say keep with the Sharp Mind. So now that we got our prep out of the way, we're going to go through this step by step on how this strategy works. It's slow at the start, but it go crazy in the end. The first thing you always want to do is get your crawlers out. With your crawlers out of your hand, you're going to be able to draw every time you play your Spellbinder and your Mana Tome. And you're going to use that to create momentum to keep your deck in your hand. From there, you're going to want to start finding more yellow cards and purple cards to include in your deck. First ones I'm usually looking for are Tomes, Attract Orbs, Spinach, Braces, even another Spellbinder will do early on. But above all else, you want to get some permanent wild cards in your hand. Do whatever it takes to make that happen. Another good pick is to try to get at least one attack card with a knockback to help try and prevent some of that early damage. You don't really need a lot of attack cards. I like to keep my low cards as my mana cards and my stat cards, and then my high cards are going to be my attacks. You're going to want to keep playing your cards from a 0 mana card to a 3 mana card. That way all your high cost attack cards end up with a multiplier. Things are really going to start to pop off when you get your first wild card, but we'll get to that in a minute. For gems, I'm looking for some negative mana gems like a -1 or a -2. I'm looking for some wild card gems. I'm even looking for some of them coin attack gems because that ends up being pretty powerful later in the game too. I like to put my negative mana gems on my tomes, and if I get a wild card gem, usually put that on my high attack cards. Once you get some permanent wild cards, you'll be able to pull off some massive combos. Playing your yellow and your purple cards will continue to let you keep your whole deck in your hand, and your wild cards will continue letting you keep that chain going over and over again when you're playing your 0 card to your 3 card, then you play your wild card again, and then you go back to your 0 card. Because all your cards keep coming back to your hand, you just keep doing this over and over and over again. You end up putting up combos so big, nothing else in the game gonna matter, because once you get this build going, you'll be able to kill everything on the first turn every time. My goal was to have an equal number of 0s, 1s, and 2s, with peppering in some 3s and 4s, and then try to add some -1s when I can. But I like to cram as many wild cards in there as possible. So now that you're using the same cards multiple times over and over again, you're gonna start to notice that they crack. That's because you can only use a card 4 times in one turn. If you use it for a 5th time, that card shatters, you lose your combo, and a purple Reaper appears. Now the purple Reaper isn't as bad as the red Reaper, but he's still gonna delay you if you're not prepared for it. Now this is the strategy that I say that you can use from the milk factory all the way to the end, but there's some other things that you can add to it that'll ramp you up even faster. For example, if you unlock your 3rd crawler slot, you can start adding another layer of flavor in there by adding in Soul, the dog, who has an attack that'll give you temporary wild cards. This will allow you to keep your combos going early before you even get one of your permanent wild cards. Another solid pick I got for a crawler was one from a viewer, Jimmy Natron, or maybe it's Natron, I don't know, sorry Jim, but he said Don Mario was his go-to pick because every time you trigger him, he'd play a knockback attack every time you play a purple card. This knockback prevents a lot of that early damage that you'd have to deal with if you was just running with Pugnala and Giovanna. Hell, Jimmy say he got through the whole second half of the game using Don Mario, so he might even be a good main choice for a crawler. So that's just something else to consider. When comparing the late game to the early game, I would say that the biggest difference is that armor doesn't really matter in the late game. It ended up not doing nearly as much as other type of cards, especially with the way I had my strategy set up. The other big change is how them boss fights go down. Boss fights aren't about taking turns no more, but about the number of cards that you play during the fight. This requires a little more thought from you when it comes to deciding which cards to play when. But then boss fights end up giving you an opportunity to build up some really high combos from the overkill. This is a great time to use a boost stat card like greed, so you can get your greed up crazy high and start shoveling in a bunch of money. Let me tell you, Poncle is like the M. Night Shyamalan of video games. You go into Vampire Crawlers thinking it's one thing, and then you find out that Bruce Willis is dead. I can't wait to see how this game evolves over time as Poncle improves on it. I'll be coming back to this one when they drop some major updates. So tell me, what was your in-game strategy? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, you hear?